to Horror Court Trash Over, the show that discusses all the masterpieces and trashpieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And this may surprise you, listeners, but we're back again with another post-Scream, early 2000s horror film.
Never ending, aren't they?
They are never ending. But
I'm not even sure if we've touched the surface.
No,
to be fair.
No. But this will actually surprise you. We're back with a good film this week.
Yeah.
Like that hasn't happened in a while. Not counting original versus remake.
Has it not?
No.
Has it been crap for a while?
I think it has been trash for a good while.
Oh, good. I like talking trash about trash.
Yes, but tonight we're talking about one of the better post-Scream slashers. We are talking about Cherry Falls from the year 2000.
Yes. Not to be confused with Cherry 2000, the Melanie Griffith film.
No, very different films. Directed by Jeffrey Wright, director of Loverboy, not that Loverboy, but the pizza guy, but it's from the same year. It's from 1989. Romper Stomper.
What Loverboy with the pizza guy?
The comedy, the pizza guy that fucks all his customers.
Is that the guy from Grey's Anatomy?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
But it's not that one.
Oh.
Romper Stomper, Metal Skin, an episode of Naked, Stories of Men, Macbeth from 2006, and the Romper Stomper miniseries.
Oh, is he Australian then?
Yeah, this is his only non-Australian film, I believe.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Made on a budget of $14 million, and I can only tell you UK box office because this is one of the very few places where it was released theatrically.
Oh.
It made £818,465 at the UK box office.
I see. Okay.
Never received a cinematic release in the UK. And US. It did receive a cinematic release in the UK. Yeah.
That surprises me.
Well, due to ongoing censorship issues with the MPAA, the film was never given a theatrical release in the US and was released as a TV movie on the USA Network. As a result, Cherry Falls is the most expensive television movie ever produced with a budget of $14 million.
The version that we saw, I mean, it felt kind of tame. I think it's a 15 here.
No, it's an 18
now. Is it still an 18?
Still an 18.
Still an 18. Yeah. I'm not saying it's, PG.
It's weird. I mean...
But a lot of the kills are off-screen.
Yeah, I mean... I'm sure there would have been worse released around this time, surely.
That's a strange
Then
one.
again,
Unless it was heavily cut.
I mean, Scream 3 is pretty much bloodless.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever happened between Scream 2 and this, I'm not sure.
I think probably with this film, and it is something we will discuss further through the podcast, but the subject matter involved is quite heavy.
Yeah.
And it's not blatantly a comedy. It is essentially a comedy. It is essentially a satire.
Yeah.
But it's not explicit. Very much like Scream, where it's not explicitly comical. And so there are a lot of scenes that are really, I wouldn't say disturbing, but heavy. They are very heavy. The subject matter is heavy.
Yeah, it doesn't forget to be a horror film. Like, I wouldn't say... I don't know if one outweighs the other because of how well the humour is blended in with a lot of it. But of course, it does get a lot more serious towards the end as well. But yeah, no, this is very much in the same way Malignant is a satire of Giallo. This is definitely going for that same sort of route, but with slashers.
I'd say to a certain degree, I think its closest sort of comparison would be Scream.
Yeah.
Because Scream is essentially a satire of the slasher film genre. But it's not explicitly so. We're not talking Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th territory here. It's I suppose is nuance the word I would be looking for. It's not obvious. It didn't slap you around the face. I kind of wish it did, but we'll obviously discuss that more during the
Well,
podcast.
Michael Biehn is in this, and I'm sure he thought he was in Shriek If You Know What I Did Last Friday the 13th, because he fully plays this like it's a parody of something. Like, he acts like he is... I mean, I don't know if he's going for John Saxon, because I know Candy Clark is absolutely going for Ronnie Blakely.
She is, yes.
But Michael Biehn initially wasn't interested in the film. After reading 15 pages of the script, he thought it was just another slasher film. His agent convinced him to keep reading, and he liked the satirical approach to the film, and decided to do it.
Nice. He's alright in it.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those, and we tend to do it a lot, where we confuse actors that we know that have been in great films with great actors. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because obviously he was in The Terminator, which is a fantastic film. But he's probably not the most memorable part of The Terminator.
He's up there. I mean,
He's up there, but...
The one film that's best to say that about is The Fan, because, I mean, he was in that. He was in The Fan.
Yeah.
But he's not the most memorable thing about The Fan.
No, of course not. But the Fan isn't a huge film. But I think sometimes we're like, oh, why would Michael Biehn? Why would he be in Cherry Falls? It's like, oh, well, actually, I think we're mistaking the fact that he was in The Terminator.
Yeah, I always forget he was in Aliens as well.
Nominated. Yeah, yeah. Bless him. He's an alright actor. He's alright.
Movie producers at Millennium Studios secured permission from Richmond Public Schools to film interior and exterior scenes at Thomas Jefferson High School during Easter break and the week following. They shared the building and the grounds at the time with the Governor's School for Government and International Studies, a regional school for gifted students. RPS failed to mention this, and the fact that the two schools shared different schedules to movie producers. RPS also failed to mention that a movie would be filmed on the site to the administration. As a result, Cherry Falls started filming at the end of the school day, only to be interrupted an hour later when all the students were released from class. To secure the set, doors had been locked and hallways had been blocked, preventing students from exiting. The confusion was eventually cleared, and the producers provided the administration with a synopsis of the plot and details about the timeline, scheduling, and deal with RPS. School administration then included the synopsis in a letter to concerned parents. The synopsis failed to mention the satirical slant of the storytelling and instead provided the plot as a serious storyline.
Oh, God.
And parents then complained for allowing porn to be filmed on school property.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, so we're making this film, and it ends with a big orgy.
Well, yeah, really. What I don't understand... Well, I kind of do understand, but it's strange that American high schools always seem to be named after famous people. Like,
Yeah.
it was filmed at Thomas Jefferson High School, and it was set, I mean, in the film, it's called George Washington High School?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Something like that.
It'd be like us going to, you know, John Major Secondary School, like, you know, Disraeli Primary School or something like that. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
Stephen Lang was
brain fart there, just thinking out loud.
Stephen Lang was slated for the lead role as a sheriff, but scheduling conflicts prevented him from playing in the film.
Is that a lead role?
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd say Brittany Murphy's definitely got the lead role.
Yeah, of course.
He later admitted the only reason he wanted to do the part was to work with Brittany Murphy again. Stephen Lang would have been good.
What did they work together with?
I have no idea.
Is Stephen Lang, remind me?
Don't Breathe.
Oh,
Blind
I
Man.
see. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, he would have done alright.
The film was written by Ken Selden as a satire with plenty of comedic elements, but director Jeffrey Wright viewed it as a far more serious film. Wright kept much of the satire, but also increased the horror, removing much of the comedy from Selden's script. That explains a lot.
It really does. And I think that was a fatal mistake in terms of selling the film.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the issues that the film faced, particularly with the MPAA, is because of that.
Yeah, I think so. He had a very specific vision for the film and frequently clashed with members of the crew, specifically the cinematographer. According to Wright, the latter walked off the set and didn't come back for almost 2 days because he thought he was using too much blood in one sequence. Wright also confessed to irritated actor Jay Marr for demanding a flexible schedule from all of the actors.
Oh, okay. Who did Jane Moore
The
play?
teacher.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The film received 2 nominations for Best Picture and Best Director at the Sitges Film Festival in Spain, and Jeff Wright finally took the prize of Best Director, so I assume he'd been nominated before.
Probably for Rumpa Stomper, which I think is quite a famous cult film.
Yeah.
It's got Russell Crowe in it. I think, isn't it 88 Films releasing it soon?
Maybe.
A big deluxe edition.
I think so.
The weird thing about Sitges Film Festival is that I've been to Sitges and it was sold to me as the gay Marbella. Marbella is the one where they all go in Towie, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. So I know Sitges as very gay. But the film festival isn't very gay, is it? It's quite horror based.
I don't know. It might be.
I don't think it's marketed as a gay film
I
festival.
mean, this is a very gay film.
It's not that gay.
It's very camp.
Camp and gay aren't necessarily the same.
Its audience now are primarily gay people and women.
Well,
Let's face it.
probably, yeah, of course. But things can be camp without necessarily having to be homosexual.
Yeah.
I mean, we just have an appreciation of camp more than, a heterosexual audience. Let's not get into that. The podcast's not long enough.
The teen orgy ended up coursing the most problems of the MPAA, unsurprisingly. Ken Selden wrote the scene to feature a sea of white sheets. In his script, viewers wouldn't actually see most of the orgy taking place. Instead, they would see shapes of bodies moving under the sheets. When the killer was chasing Jodie through the house, the audience would simply see the sheets with splashes of blood randomly appearing on them. Director Jeffrey Wright chose to go a more graphic route and show everything in plain sight, resulting in the film being given an NC-17 rating multiple times. Since Wright was obligated to deliver an R-rated film, nearly all of the nudity, mostly topless females, was cut from the scene.
I was going to say, if anything, it's just teens in their underwear.
Yeah.
Pretending to sort of rival. There's not much going on in that scene, I don't think. That makes sense now.
Given a 30-day time frame to shoot the film, Jeffrey Wright went over budget and behind schedule early on into the shoot. Many scenes of the original script weren't even able to be filmed because of this. Scenes had to be rushed during filming since they had limited time and weren't able to return to locations after they had left. This meant that many scenes in the final cut were the first and only take.
Okay.
Which, I mean, makes a lot of Brittany Murphy's queen moments, should we say. Slay queen moments, very impressive.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm going to sort of reiterate that I did enjoy the film, but there are a few issues, and I think the what you've just read out, the trivia, actually helps to understand the issues that I have with the film.
Yeah, I mean, I really think this is I really think this is a great film. It definitely has its issues, especially when you're looking at it from a 2022 perspective. But I mean, as far as 2000s horror goes, as we've said many times on this podcast, it isn't the strongest, especially when it comes to slasher films. So
it's by far not the worst, though. Let's be
exactly. But yeah, no, I think this is a really, really strong post-Scream slasher. But let's get into it. In the small town of Cherry Falls, a psychotic murderer is killing off the virgins of the local high school. And we start...
Very simple premise there.
We start in the woods outside of Cherry Falls, Virginia, where a teenage couple, Rod Harper and Stacy Twelfman, are making out in a car whilst Rod talks nerdy to Stacy.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack from the get-go is very Scream.
Yeah.
That, you know what?
Yeah.
I believe he was reciting poetry. One of the lines he comes out with is, "I want to make love to you in the manner of my people." I mean, I think that's a famous quote. I think it's from Star Trek, maybe. But I'm like, is he quoting alien poetry?
It very much sounded like it was from Star Trek.
Yeah, very, nerdy romanticizing, isn't it? Stacey, because of course she's called Stacey. There's always a Stacey in
There
these
is.
films. She wants her first time to be special. Um, yeah, unfortunately she didn't get her first time because Rod is stabbed repeatedly by an assailant with long, greasy black hair
Well, yeah, I
and a
mean,
mini skirt.
yeah, I mean, they're making out. He tries to give her a finger, but she's not having it. She threatens to leave at first. They make out again, and then the headlights turn on behind them, and Rod goes to investigate. It's a really good setup. It's a really good opening scene that, back then you needed the memorable opening scene if you're going to be a slasher film.
It's Slasher Film 101 is the memorable opening scene. Absolutely.
And yeah, no, I mean, this is no Drew Barrymore in
No.
Scream, it's no Jada Pinkett Smith in Scream 2, it's not even Cotton Weary in Scream 3, but...
Keep that name out your mouth.
I know, I'm going to get slapped. But, it's still a great opening scene. It's really good.
It is. The thing is, it's not a problem. The thing is, this is a satire, and
Yeah.
this is very stereotypical slasher film opening,
It is, and the killer manages to
and
look
that's
creepy.
kind of the point.
Yeah, I mean, the killer looks creepy in the car, and proper goes for it when they're trying to kill Rod.
Rod, played by Jesse Bradford,
From...
Bring It On.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was the Kirsten Dunst's love interest in Bring It On,
There we go.
and swim fan.
There we go.
So there we go.
Stacey locks the car doors, but unlocks them when she hears Rod by the door. As she tries to get him into the car, the killer comes back, stabbing him to death, and pins Stacey against the tree whilst touching her face.
Yeah, then we cut away, don't we?
You do.
So we don't really see what happens to Stacey. And we're introduced to Jodie, played by
Yes.
Brittany Murphy, who is making out with her boyfriend Kenny in the car. Very similar setup, isn't it?
It is.
He's upset that they've been together a whole year and they have not had sex yet. And he thinks that they should start seeing other people.
Yeah.
Jodie's mum Marge, played by Candy Clark, who was in
Everything.
everything. She's one of those actresses that's in everything. Not always the star. I believe she was nominated for an an Oscar for American Graffiti. She was in The Man Who Fell to Earth,
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks. Yeah, very prolific actress. And a good actress as well, actually.
Yeah.
I liked her in this. She hasn't got much to do, but I like her. She pops up for a nice little jump scare, and she asks Kenny for a ciggy.
Yeah.
She's a bit flirty with him.
They're very flirty with each other. I mean, both times I've watched this now, I forgot about this whole flirting thing between them two. I seriously thought those two were going to have some sort of affair.
There's a weird energy to her that could have been high camp and comedy, but isn't really fully formed. I think she could have been a real comedy element to the film, because she's kind of weird. If they'd just gone all out weird, if they'd just done a parody of Ronnie Blakely in No Nightmare on Elm Street,
I think that is what they were trying to do.
I think it's what they were trying to do. But
I don't think she's
kind of-
included enough.
No,
I think that's the problem.
I kind of wish they would have gone all the way.
I think she does a great job of every bit of screen time she gets, but she just isn't given enough to do. She
No.
isn't in it enough.
When she's revealing the backstory, she has got a cigarette on the go. Imagine if she lit it the same way Ronnie
Yeah.
Blakely lit it.
Yeah. Well, she drinks from a fucking vase. What more do you want?
Well, I don't think that's a comedy film thing. I think that is like a year 2000 thing. Like people drank from massive glasses. Maybe it's an American thing, I don't know. But yeah, so she asks him for a ciggy. She's a bit flirty. She's not a regular mum. She's a cool mum.
Yeah.
She's trying to hide her cigarette smoking and trying to hide Jodie being late home from her husband, the sheriff, played by Michael Biehn. But Kenny gives Jodie the old heave ho and slams the door, because she won't put out.
Yeah.
Jodie arrives home, and she gets a nice little jump scare from Dad, Michael Bean, Sheriff, Brent Markin, who grounds her for staying out so late. Did you notice some sort of room decoration that Jodie had?
No.
No, I never knew these existed. But she had inflatable photo frames.
Oh god, yeah, I remember those. They used to have Steps ones with Smash Hits magazine.
Oh my god. I remember the chair. I had the chairs. So it's an inflatable chair, and it had what's it in beanbags? The little bits of white.
Yeah.
Polystyrene. Yeah. They had that inside. But a big inflatable chair. But I have to say, I didn't know they had inflatable photo frames.
Yeah, I used to get them
neon colours.
I'm not sure Brittany Murphy got hers for Smash Hits magazine, but that's where I used to get mine from.
No shit.
I don't even think I had pictures in them. I think it was like literally just pictures of Backstreet Boys and Steps.
Probably. I would bet good money you could probably buy them from Urban Outfitters now.
You probably could. They'll be back in style.
They will be.
Yeah, so with both Brent and Marge, both of them constantly are like the flirting with everyone they come into contact with. Like
including their daughter.
Including their daughter. It's really
Jodie.
weird.
It's very strange. Because it's something that's not really developed,
No.
But it's really I don't.
I think it is to add to the weird atmosphere.
I think
in the
so.
film.
I reckon if we would have gone maybe full Twin Peaks on it, I reckon that would have been good, like a Twin Peaks slasher film.
Yeah.
I think that would have been good, wouldn't it?
Definitely.
With these, you could have had Marge going full Nadine. That would have been amazing. But yeah, the sheriff is called away to a crime scene in the middle of the night, but doesn't get there until daylight.
Well, Jodie sleepwalks.
A little bit of continuity, I think.
And Jodie sleepwalks to her window and she's like, Daddy.
Yeah.
With absolutely no reason.
No reason whatsoever. So it turns out that Stacey was nailed to a tree while still alive, and we get a little flash of her. Yeah. It's part of it's the gruesome nature of the film that doesn't quite fit. Is reiterating that she was alive when she was nailed to a tree.
Yeah.
Jodie's seemingly gay best friend, Timmy.
Yes.
Jimmy and Timmy. Jodie and Timmy. Timmy's wearing a big fur coat, and at school the next day he's giving her the 411 on the murders.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see a bit of positive gay representation in the film. He's definitely meant to be gay.
Yeah, I think
there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah,
it's just a shame, again, like Candy Clark, it's just a shame that he's not in it for long. I'd have liked to have seen him develop some more, maybe take on the Randy role from Scream.
Yeah, this time, I mean, it would have been good if he just popped up because he's a journalist, ladies and gentlemen. If he just popped up every so often with a bit of gossip, or something that sort of helped move the film along, maybe. I think that would have been interesting. Spoiler alert, he only survives 2 scenes. But it's nice. It was interesting. He wasn't the joke. He wasn't the butt of any jokes or anything. He was clearly quite flamboyant. We're assuming he's gay. I believe he was written as a gay character. Refreshing to see. I just wish there would have been a little bit more. Who's Mr. Morrison?
Marliston.
Oh, I've written Mr. Morrison. Is that corrected that? Mr. Marliston. The handsome teacher. And I think
handsome teacher. He looks like H from Steps when he takes his glasses off.
It's the year 2000. Okay.
It's like a young Owen Wilson.
But he's meant to be the handsome teacher. I mean, the idea is that Jodie may have a little crush on him. So he's the handsome teacher, Mr. Marliston. He's trying to get the class to deal with their emotions regarding Stacey and Rod's death.
It's a very Scream scene.
Very Scream 2.
Yeah.
I thought this was set in a college the first time I saw it because the way this is all set out.
Yeah.
The seating is very college-like.
Mm-hmm.
Giving me legal blonde. Fucking hell, legally blonde. Excuse me. Don't know where my mouth's run to today. Poor Heather. She's upset in the class, remembering when she told Rod to fuck off and die in 8th grade. Took him a while, but turns out he did. The other students do struggle to show any real sorrow or real sensitivity, though. Other stereotypes, including a nerd and a popular blonde, bicker before the sheriff turns up and does his horror movie sheriff speech.
He does.
So in the class, a class of characters that are introduced but not killed.
Yeah.
I found this strange because in normal slasher films, these are your victims.
Yeah.
The one they're getting, a bit of character develop, a little bit of character development. But yeah,
as far as individual deaths go, it's not really that high of a body count.
There's not really, which makes it strange, and I'll explain in a bit, because the body count is so low before a motive is established.
Yeah.
There's kind of like, oh, okay. But yeah, so you've got two stoner bonehead dudes, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've got the geeky guy with glasses who loves his Dungeons and Dragons. You've got the blonde girl who seemingly is popular and not a virgin, much to everyone's jokes and such. She was playing, it took me ages to realise, and I understand this is very niche. But she's played by an actress I remember watching when I was younger, Kristen Miller. Now, it took me so long to realise it was her because I remember her from a TV show that I used to watch called USA High. And it was a comedy show, if I'm remembering her correctly. It was a comedy show. I used to watch it on Trouble. Did you watch Trouble?
No.
Here in the UK, we had she played Ashley Elliott. We had a TV channel called Trouble, and it was very much aimed at the teen market. But it had a lot of American shows, and it was stuff like Hang Time, USA High, Saved by the Bell, The College Years, and so on and so forth. And in USA High, I'm not going on a tangent here, but in USA High, she played an English girl who went to USA High, which was a high school in Paris, specifically for American students. And she had, and what I believed at the time is many, many years ago, to be an actual British accent. Clearly it wasn't.
Wow. And
it was a ridiculous one. But if anyone is looking for a shit teen sitcom from the late 90s, you give USA High a watch.
I have never heard of anything you've just mentioned.
Very, very
other than
niche.
Saved by the Bell.
The College Years.
Other than that,
Am I showing my age here? Maybe. Maybe. If anyone remembers USA High or Hang Time or Malibu CA, then please send me a message on Instagram. We can reminisce together because no other fucker remembers any of it.
So yeah, two teens have a fight.
Where were we? What
two teens have a fight in the middle of a canteen and argue over whether it's worse to be a shit-sucking liar or a cock-sucking liar.
Oh, Annette is fucking fuming that this guy with a very 90s haircut and one of those hoop earrings at the top of his ear, very, very 90s. He's been going around telling everyone that she gave him a Hummer. Gary, what's a Hummer?
I assume that is a blowjob.
No, it's a sexual act involving holding the penis in the mouth whilst humming.
Oh. Well...
I don't understand what...
First Trouble and Hang Time and now this. You really learn something new every day.
I don't understand how. Well, let's not get into that too much. But I don't understand. Yeah, I just don't understand a Hummer.
No. If anyone
Oh, that wasn't me demonstrating.
First X-rated podcast episode.
Oh.
So if any no,
If anyone-
please don't tell us.
If
about
anyone's
your
ever had a
Hummers.
Hummer, please no video evidence. Well, maybe. But let us know, yeah?
rate your Hummer out.
Yeah,
of 10.
can you also tell us how it works?
Please don't send us a guide.
I'm assuming
on
it
how
would
to
just
Hummer.
be slightly annoying. To be
Wait,
fair.
how did you find this out anyway?
I googled it. Of course I
For
googled
fuck's
it.
sake.
I was confused.
Elsewhere, the killer is sharpening her weapons.
Yes. Yeah.
Annette
Yeah.
Duwald, the Virgin, who's giving Hummers out apparently,
Yeah.
is home alone when the killer knocks on the door and claims to be Laura Lee Sherman and asks to leave a note for her mother. Annette answers the door, opens the door, should I say, sorry. The killer grabs her hair and starts slamming it in the door. Annette's parents come home and find that she's been killed in the same manner as the other two teenagers, and her mum's reaction is amazing.
Her mum's reaction is amazing. This is I get absolutely given Casey Becker at the beginning of Scream. Definitely. At home the sheriff is teaching Jodie some self-defense when he gets the call about Annette's murder. It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It's very weird.
It's very weird because he's kind of
He ends up on top of her.
ends up on top of her, and if it was any other film, this would be the moment that they would share a kiss.
Yeah.
Which is weird as their father and daughter, so I don't really know why this was included.
No.
Because there is a bit of a weird moment between them.
Yeah.
Which isn't really explained or explored, so it's kind of really pointlessly awkward to watch.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe, he's trying to... The filmmakers are trying to keep us on edge by making our toes
Michael B
curl.
was absolutely a red herring, by the way.
Yeah, I suppose
He was
yeah,
absolutely
of course,
a red
yeah.
herring.
Yeah.
I'd even go as far as saying Candy Clarkson red herring as well.
And the principal.
And the principal, these are your main
And Kenny.
suspects. Yeah. And do you know what? The first time I watched it, I didn't guess who it was. I was very surprised when it was a teacher. Oh, spoiler alert.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, you know how it works with this podcast.
We were not listening as they watch along. It's not a watch along episode.
Yeah, so Brent gets a call about the murder and he goes with his...
Are you allowed to do that? Like, I've seen people online do it. Oh, watch along with us. And they watch the film. Would you not have to get like a license or something? Like copyright and stuff?
No, not really. If you own the film, you can watch it.
Yeah, but you're broadcasting
No. I think, literally you press play at the same time.
Yeah, but sometimes I've seen people online
sometimes
do it.
people do that.
Watch with us and we'll give you a commentary or something.
Yeah.
Rather than, recently, WrestleMania, where you have watch-alongs, but it's someone... You're not seeing WrestleMania as this person's watching and giving you a running commentary.
Some people do it on Facebook groups. So definitely need licenses for that. So it's very strange. Obviously,
if you're broadcasting this film, I know you're talking over it, but if you're broadcasting a film to people, you'd need a license, wouldn't you?
True.
Really.
True.
Sorry, just a little tangent there. If anyone else knows about that sort of thing, I mean, something that could be... Well, I don't know how fun it would be to do.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I
Maybe.
mean, we don't edit this podcast, so this is just my trailer for anyway.
Brent and his Gina Gershon-looking partner go to the autopsy of Annette, where they find out that the killer is targeting virgins.
See, this is the part where I'm a little like, oh, really? So the autopsy shows that Annette was a virgin when she died, and that by all accounts, so was Stacy and Rod. The coroner then concludes that the killer must have a signature after 3 deaths.
Yeah, I think that's the joke.
I think probably, but it kind of it suggests that being a virgin in Cherry Falls, whilst at high school, is some sort of anomaly, is weird, and therefore after 3 deaths, this is a signature.
Yeah.
But then later in the film, it appears that everyone is a virgin because they're all partaking in the cherry ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's very much a joke there, and it felt like the place is called Cherry Falls as well.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And obviously it's
an
a take
obvious joke
on the old slasher
Yeah,
trope.
of course.
You know how if you're not a virgin, you're going to die. Obviously, this is turning it on its head.
Maybe I would have
purposes.
preferred more death scenes before.
Maybe.
I mean, Scream is very light on death scenes.
Yeah.
Really, until the conclusion.
Brent goes home and asks Jodie if she's a virgin.
Well, yeah, he wakes Jodie up
Yeah.
in the middle of the night to awkwardly ask her if she's a virgin without telling her the reason why he's asking her. And she just seems to be okay with that.
Yeah, well, she asks him if he's disappointed that she's a virgin.
Yeah, that is weird. But she's like, oh, okay, good night, Daddy. And it's like, are we not acknowledging how strange that is? That your dad woke you in the middle of the night to ask if you're a virgin. It's like, good night, honey. Bye. Jodie and her teacher have a Mr. What's his name? Marliston. They have a moment after reciting T.S. Eliot together. But then Jodie is fuming when Mr. Marliston suggests her angsty love for T.S. Eliot may be attributed to her recent breakup with Kenny. Yeah, she's a strong, independent woman.
She is.
You know, if she's been angsty, it's all because of her, not because of her breakup with Kenny. She's fuming at the suggestion.
She is.
It's nice. It's this is probably the moment to discuss it. Brittany Murphy is a wonderful actress. Was in this film. In this film, I mean. But was a great comedian as well.
Yeah.
The films we've seen her, she's got buckets full of charm in all the films that I've seen her in. And she did make an obvious lead for a film like this.
Yeah.
You know, an obvious final girl. And she adds so much to the film. It's probably the reason why I'm kind of surprised it didn't get a theatrical release in America, because Brittany Murphy was an established actress by that point.
Yeah.
To a certain degree. I mean, she'd been in Clueless, obviously, which was a big sort of hit. Drop Dead Gorgeous. She was great in that. And I'm surprised that she wasn't a big enough name to make this a theatrical film.
Yeah, and it's like you said, she does a really, really great job in this, and she is a proper final girl. She is your proper horror slay queen.
Yeah,
like, she fights back. She's smart. She's just
you get behind her.
Everything she needs to be.
And a lot of that is due to Brittany Murphy as well. Because it's not the most developed character in the world.
No, but she does everything she needs to do.
But there's such a charm to Brittany Murphy as an actress.
Yeah.
That, you know, you're really rooting for her. It's such a shame that, you know, Brittany Murphy died so young. Because, you know, we could have had some real wonderful performances continuing from her.
Yes. She notices that someone is spying on them. And they go looking around the school, her and Mr. Marliston. And he finds a cigarette on the floor and flicks it, and it lands on someone's shoe.
Oh.
Concerned for the
Who likes a cigarette? Oh, Kenny likes a cigarette. Oh,
Sure.
Marge likes a cigarette.
Kenny conveniently wears the same sort of shoes as the killer.
Everyone wears Beetle Crushers in this film, don't they?
It's a very smart move they're setting the scene up like this, because, I mean, it really throws you off thinking that it could be the teacher.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you know, if he's there, if the killer's there watching, then it can't be him, can it?
Yeah.
Or so you think.
I don't know. Would you use the term beetle crushers? I'm not sure if it's just something that
I've heard it.
my friends
I've heard
made
it
up.
used.
Okay.
Probably by you actually. So probably
Maybe.
Doc Martens, should we
Well,
say?
they are, but I don't think they're real Doc Martens, or they would have had a bit of product placement, wouldn't they?
Concerned for the town's safety, Brent holds a meeting at the high school to tell parents the nature of the crimes. No students are invited, but Jodie and Timmy, who stayed after school, spy on the meeting.
Yeah, Timmy, being a journalist, ladies and gentlemen, is always hot on the scoop.
Yes.
So they're having a real nose. Whilst a brawl breaks out between the parents when one parent suggests that another's daughter has nothing to worry about if the killer is only targeting virgins.
And this scene as well, you know, really showcases the comedic side of things and the ridiculous camp nature of everything.
It's the only real scene that is out and out comedy. Like you would see this kind of scene in a comedy film, like, you know, Airplane or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's a clear joke, played for laughs. Yeah. Timmy goes off to take a call, and Jodie can't find him. She searches the empty school halls in very slasher film style, and finds Timmy in a locker with the word virgin written on the door, with his throat slit.
Yeah.
The murderer is not too long after finds her, and a chase ensues. Jodie is knocked unconscious, but wakes in time to fight off the killer in the science lab. And what does she use to fight him or her off?
What does she use?
A giant stuffed shark
She does.
swinging from the
She
ceiling.
does. Yeah, she absolutely slays it in this scene. Like, this is how you fight a slasher villain. It is great.
Just lobbing anything you can get hold of, just throwing it until you run out of objects. And using a stuffed shark swinging from the ceiling.
Yeah, she goes to the police station after, describes the killer to an officer who does a sketching, and one of the computer sketching things.
EFIT, we'd call it here, I think. EFIT.
And basically draws Steven Tyler.
Yes. So, this is when I first watched the film, because in the previous scene, the killer does make some noises that sounded very male.
Yeah.
And Jodie keeps saying she, and we've seen the killer with long black hair, and a mini skirt. But I think the overemphasis on she, it made me nervous. Rightfully so, because the killer is revealed to be a man dressed as a woman.
Yeah.
And it did. We'll get onto that more later. But this was the moment where I was like, oh, okay, this is going to turn out to be a bloke, isn't it? And, you know, we're going to get the rehashed Psycho ending.
Yeah. During the scene, Brent is sweating, but tells his partner that he doesn't recognise the killer. He then confides with Principal Tom that the suspect looks like Laura Lee Sherman. The two are both visibly nervous, and Jodie listens in on their conversation.
Yeah, she listens in on the phone. So she now has a name, Laura Lee Sherman.
Yes.
And now it makes more sense. Earlier, when Annette was visited by a Laura Lee Sherman, Jodie's friend Sandy turns up.
Yes.
And tells her there's a kind of orgy being organised to make sure there's no virgins left to be murdered. So I think Timmy's call got through, didn't it? Where he revealed the truth about the murders. Jodie is now the most popular girl in school. Now she survived a murder attempt. Even Kenny now wants her back.
Yes.
I kind of wish they would have played this up a little more for the jokes about her being the most popular girl in school. Yeah. Now that she survived someone trying to murder her. I mean, that's quite funny.
I don't know, do you think there might be a danger of overdoing it if they did play it up too much? I mean, it's a really funny scene, but if they did that for, like, every scene after, do you think it might just get a bit much?
I don't know. I think for me, where the film, and it doesn't fail, don't get me wrong, but we are on a podcast discussing a film, you know, ups and downs and shit, and what we like and didn't like about the film. And it was one aspect of the film that I struggled with, is that it wasn't more comedic.
Yeah.
I think certain scenes they could have played up more for laughs.
Yeah.
Because I think it was trying too hard to be Scream.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely felt that. And I don't think that... I mean, it's called Cherry Falls, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's about a slasher killer, a serial killer, killing people for being virgins. You know, it's a parody.
Yeah.
But for me, it didn't take it too far. It didn't take it far enough, excuse me. Because, I mean, we've seen Scream. We have Scream. You can't replicate that. So try and do something different and make it... Don't go all, you know, balls to the wall like Scary Movie did. But just play up the laughs a little more.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the scene where someone... And it's very simple comedy. Someone suggests that, you know, another guy's daughter is safe from a serial killer because she's clearly not a virgin, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's funny.
Yeah.
You could have had more of that and had a few laughs with it. But there was no moments that really made me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
In a film called Cherry Falls. You know, come on. It's called Cherry Falls, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? And I liked the film. I did like the film. I just wish there were more... I wish they'd made the most of what could be comedic moments. Yeah. Because it would have... for me, it would have helped me understand the film a little more.
Mm-hmm.
That's not to say I didn't like the film. It's just... You know, me being an expert and 5-time Oscar winner, Chris Barker, but you know, I watch these films. It's my opinion. If you don't like it,
it's true. No one's coming for you, and it's okay.
I don't have to defend myself. Excuse me.
One of the non-virgin girls at school holds a meeting with all the girls and provides some of her sex expertise.
So this is USA High girl. Popular blonde Cindy. She's not a cheerleader though. Surprised me. Not a single cheerleader in this film. She gives them a pep talk about sex before the big party that evening. She basically says, wear a condom and don't expect an orgasm.
Yeah.
The dudes are getting high in a van, wondering if women have 2 or 3 holes, and suggesting there should be a killer who murders women who don't give head. The principal sees... See, that's funny. That's funny. That sort of... that scene was funny. The principal sees a TV report on the scheduled orgy that evening and announces that anyone attending will be punished.
Yes. Later...
Seemingly no one gives a shit,
no.
Because all the students are super excited, running around screaming after school. So seemingly the only person who's not a virgin is Cindy.
Yeah.
In the whole school. I mean, I don't know who she slept with then. Clearly, it takes 2 to tango. So there must be at least one guy who's not a virgin at the school, unless she went to another school for it. Or...
And later, Jodie asks her mother, who is drinking and cooking. She's drinking from the bottle.
She's burning the cookies.
She asks her if she knows who Laura Lee Sherman is, and she tells her she doesn't know her.
Yeah, she's I don't know what she's drinking. She's not hiding it in the linen cupboard.
No.
Linen closet. Jodie takes her investigations further at the library until a nice little jump scare by her mum.
Yes.
Who's followed her there, seemingly. She tells her the story of Laura Lee while smoking a ciggy by the books. No one else in the library.
No.
So, libraries are so abandoned in films. It's shocking, isn't it? It is.
Yeah, so
Reading's
Laura
fundamental, though, you know.
Laura Lee was a high school loner 27 years ago. She claimed that 4 popular boys at school, including Brent and the high school principal, raped her one night. Her cries fell on deaf ears, and she left the city for the rural outskirts, where she was rarely seen or heard from again. Yeah, so as you know from listening to this podcast previously and other episodes and such, using sexual assault as a plot point is not the best, is it? Let's face it.
No, the film is 22 years old, but it doesn't sit well that in what is, you know, essentially a slasher parody where, you know, there are comedic elements, rape and sexual assault is used as a plot point.
Yeah.
You know, and spoiler alert, the reason for the killings is this rape that happened. It's, yeah.
Which, I mean, you know, that could go in a weird way. It could fall into rape revenge. But the problem is, you know, rape revenge films are obviously played seriously, as they should be. You know, it's a serious subgenre. In throwing us into, like you said, into a satire, a comedy film, it just, yeah, it's one of the biggest downfalls for me. With the film, especially with how it leads into the twist and given the reasoning, and then the whole dressing as a woman thing, it becomes a little messy, a little problematic by today's standards. But to be honest, I mean, even by 2000, this is a bit late for it.
It is, and I think it's probably I think it's where I say that I wish the comedy was played up more. I think if this was more of a comedy film, you probably wouldn't have had this.
No, it could have been replaced with anything, really.
It really could have. And, you know, the whole idea of the film is because of, you know, the rules of the slasher film that were established and parodied in Scream. One of them is, you know, only virgins survive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the premise of the film. You know, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's a funny premise. But the reasoning for the premise is that virgins are being killed off is rape.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't it's not, it doesn't sit well. It's icky. It's not right.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
it needs another draft, because that shouldn't be the reason. Even in 2000, it's just it's not. I don't know what word I'm looking for, but it's not a positive word.
No. Brent visits Laura Lee's old house and finds the place looking really run down. Finds a doll with a chain around its neck. His partner radios through to him and informs him that Principal Tom wants to meet with him. Jodie, disappointed with the hypocrisy of her parents, visits Kenny at his house where he's playing a guitar solo like a really cool dude.
Yes. At the window
At
as well,
the window.
isn't it? And she's outside the window. She's like, oh my god, Kenny, those guitar skills.
Yeah, they talk in his room whilst Kenny rubs Jodie's feet, and Jodie, because she's upset with her parents, tries to have sex with him after telling him to bite on her big toe.
Yeah, another surreal moment that goes into pure comedy is Kenny with Jodie's big toe in his mouth. Yeah, I haven't really got much to say about that.
Yeah, he refuses.
Not being a fan of feet of myself, I wasn't particularly pleased.
Yeah, he doesn't want to have sex with her, so she gets upset and leaves, but before she goes, he mentions that he saw her and Mr. Marliston hanging out. So it reveals that it was him watching at the school.
Yeah, so, Kenny's upset because he wants Jodie to have sex with him because she wants to have sex with him, not because she's pissed at her parents. Even even though not too long ago she'd said, Kenny, you've been pressuring me to do it with you for a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, spoiler alert, by the end, they kind of reconcile their relationship, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, she left it where it was. It didn't sound very healthy.
Brent goes to the school to meet Principal Tom, only to find him dead in his office with the words "Virgin Not" carved into his forehead. Before Brent can react, he is knocked out by the killer.
Yes, then we cut to the party.
Yeah.
Essential in any slasher film in the late 90s. And this is a pop your cherry ball.
It is. One guy's giving his CD collection to a girl for sex.
Yeah, resident stoner Mark, the object... oh no, excuse me, my apologies. It's Cindy. So Cindy will only sleep with stoner bonehead Ben if she can have all his CDs.
Even the imports.
Even the imports. Which is funny because he was one of the ones who was bragging about his sexual prowess not too long ago in the film. But turns out that he needs Cindy to pop his cherry or he's going to get killed. Two
guys who look like they're clearly gay, look like they're about to get it on with each other, but then go and dance with two girls.
Ah, no, these are the geeks.
One looks like a mixture of Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland.
That's, if I remember correctly, isn't that DJ Quayle? I don't know how to pronounce his surname. But did you ever watch, which one was it? Road Trip?
No. Surprisingly, no.
No. Yeah, he was in Road Trip. Yeah. I don't know what else. I don't know what fucking else. Was he in one of the American Pie films?
Maybe.
He was very much in that sort of acting group.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone really was in this. The one thing you could be guaranteed with these post-Scream horror films is that the cat, if you're of a particular age like myself, the whole cast are going, what do I know them from?
Yeah.
What do I know them from?
Yeah, a lot of the teen films from around this time all share the same cast. They definitely switched between films, and then they all ended up eventually in Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Sandy starts dancing with Mark, and Kenny is about to have sex with a girl when he has second thoughts and leaves to find Jodie.
Yes.
She is on her way to Mr. Marliston's house and witnesses him dragging a heavy trunk inside.
Yeah, so she helps him. She helps him drag this trunk, very heavy trunk. He wants to get it down the stairs. And they're having a talk, and she's upset with her father. And Mr. Marliston says, "You're really close to your father." Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Because who's in the trunk? Her father, who she's helping drag down the stairs. I mean, that's funny. That's funny, you know? She then kind of asks what's in the trunk, and she's trying to figure out why it's so heavy. Mr. Marliston, for the big reveal, says, "Your father, maybe mine." Jodie opens the trunk and finds her dad tied up. Mr. Marliston... Does Mr. Marliston get a first name?
Leonard.
Leonard.
Yeah.
Mr. Marliston knocks her out and ties her up too.
Yes. And it's a shame that this reveal is so problematic, because it's a great reveal. I mean, the way he's just casually... When she's like, "Oh, what's in this?" "Oh, yeah, he's your dad." Like, just, it's a really good reveal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, the lead up to it is funny.
Yeah.
Because I think by that point, a red herring, you know, we were thinking, oh, it's probably Mr. Marliston, because he's acting shady. Mm-hmm. And then when he says, "You're really close to your father," I mean, that's fun. That's funny.
Yeah. But then it is revealed that he puts on a wig and makeup to become Laura Lee Sherman. It's just, for me, the last film to do this where it's acceptable to say, do you know what, it's a product of its time, but you can look past it, it's still a masterpiece, is Silence of the Lambs. I think that's the cut-off point. Because, I mean, throughout all of history, whenever it's been done, it's not acceptable. It's still not okay. But if you're, basing it something on a product of its time, then I think the cut-off point is Silence of the Lambs. I don't think anything since then has been done where you can say, oh, well, we've learned since then, it's a product of its time. Anything after that point, no, it's just aged badly.
Yeah, I think because there was backlash against Silence of the Lambs at the time, so any sort of film after that should have learned from that.
Exactly.
I think Silence of the Lambs, and I don't really want to get in it too much because we're talking about Cherry Falls, but I do think Silence of the Lambs deals with it better.
Yeah, of course.
And it's not, it's dealt with, well, it's probably dealt with it more. It kind of, it has that conversation about it and sort of explains itself last in the film. Whereas with this, I mean, it's Psycho, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like,
absolutely.
Your mum abused you, therefore you dress up as your mum because you're now crazy. It's just it's that, and it's been done. It was, well, I suppose it wasn't problematic. It's in Psycho. I mean, it sort of ignited the world of horror filmmaking. But we've kind of learnt more now.
Yeah.
And in the 40 years after Psycho, it should have been.
It just falls into a grey area.
Isn't that the twist?
Yeah, I mean, it falls into a grey area because this could just be you could just look at this as a straight up parody of Psycho, but then if that's what you're going for, then find a way to acknowledge that it wasn't okay within there. If you're going for if you want to be modern, if you're going for of your time, you want to be new and hip and whatever they're called, the films around this time. And you're parodying that and you want to say something about it, then say something about it. Don't connect it to a rape twist as well, because then that enters a very grey area where if it was done as a parody, how can you laugh at it when that's what it's leading from?
Yeah, and isn't it? And it's like I said about Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is not a comedy at all, but it does explain it within the film itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where the problem lies in, something like Psycho and in this, and it doesn't explain it. It doesn't...
I think they do in Psycho.
At the end? Yeah, so it's not saying that this person is transgendered and transgendered people are psychopaths.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily saying that, but it's also not saying that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is that, you have to, in the film, say, this is what this is.
Yeah.
Essentially, in Cherry Falls, this guy is obviously a mentally ill serial killer who dresses up as his mum.
Yeah.
But it's not really explained why he does that, and not sort of like dressing as a woman. Is that because he's a psychopath? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not distinguishing and saying, I mean, really, why couldn't you just not have the dress as your mum part?
Exactly.
But it leads to the red herring nature of it,
It does. Whether it was done to be a damaging representation, who knows? I don't think so, because if you're going to have other, queer representation in your film, why would you go back on that?
Yeah.
And, it kind of... I don't think it was done maliciously, but that sort of clumsy nature doesn't help to trans representation.
I feel like... particularly towards the end when he's got the wig on.
Yeah.
I feel like it's trying to play up the comedy in him having like, it wasn't as funny. He's wearing a wig, and he's got a mini skirt on. I think maybe that's played for laughs.
Well, he doesn't have the skirt on. No,
is he not wearing a skirt at the end?
In his normal outfit.
He's got lipstick on.
Yeah,
lipstick
he's
on.
got
Makeup on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's made to play it for laughs because of the bizarre nature.
When he goes jump torrents on things. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, we've done full episodes on Psycho and Silence of the Lambs. Go listen to them for us talking more in depth on stuff like this. But also watch Disclosure because, that definitely. I've obviously, we've obviously known what's okay and what's not okay. We're clever adults, and a lot of people should be. But watch Disclosure because that really opens your eyes to how damaging sort of representation can be and how it makes trans people feel, prior to coming out and even when they've came out, and that's the sort of representation they're getting. It really is a fantastic documentary and really worth watching.
I do think Disclosure is must-see documentary filmmaking, absolutely. And the thing is, we are, fully grown adults, and we know right from wrong.
Yeah.
But there's always room for learning, and there's always room.
It's not impossible to enjoy a film with something like this. I love this film. I have no problem saying I really enjoyed this film, but I recognise this is not okay.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. That is what it's about. You can't destroy cinema history. Psycho is one of the greatest horror films of all time. So is Silence of the Lambs. You can't just erase those because of one small thing. You can watch them and acknowledge what is okay and what isn't okay, though.
Yeah, I think I know that every film ever made is a product of its time. It absolutely is a representation of that period, in history. Psycho was made in 1960. It's representative of 1960 values.
Yeah.
Do they hold up now? Not necessarily, no. That makes... It's difficult. It's difficult because you can't hold everything to the same standard as you would films nowadays. Because there is a learning to it. And has it been quick enough? No, it hasn't. But by 2000, I think they should have known a little better.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Marliston reveals that he is Laura Lee Sherman's illegitimate son and asks Brent to retell the story of what happened at night 25 years ago. Brent reveals that the four boys, including himself, did indeed rape Laura Lee. And Marliston says his mother became an abusive psycho after the rape and that one of the rapists is his father. There's an implication that Brent is in fact Marliston's biological father.
Yeah, so unfortunately we do get flashbacks.
Yeah.
No, they're not...
Not necessary.
They're not necessary. They're not explicit. But in the context of this film and its comedic parts, it's meant to be a comedy, really. Yeah. It's unnecessary.
It is.
We then also get flashbacks to Marliston being abused in his cot by Laura Lee. Again, not necessary.
No.
It's suggested that Laura Lee is abusive as a mother because Marliston reminded her of Sheriff Markin.
Yeah.
Who she was in love with. So before the rape took place, she was in love with Sheriff Markin, and she had a crush. She wrote him poetry and something, but never had the guts to give him any of this poetry that she wrote. And the reason she kind of, went to them for help when her car broke down was because she was in love with Markin, and she trusted him, blah, blah, blah. You know, it all sort of stems from there. I don't think it's necessary to have visuals on that. I don't think it's really necessary to the plot.
No.
I mean, there's 100 other reasons why this killer is killing virgins.
Exactly.
You know, it just...
It just could have been someone turned down at a high school prom or whatever, you know.
Exactly. Something silly, you know. It's a silly film. The reason could have been anything. If it's a comedy, as long as it's funny,
yeah.
you know. And I think this is... And me and Gary were talking on a similar subject today about sort of too many cooks when it comes to filmmaking.
Yeah.
And as you said in the trivia, seemingly the screenwriter and the director were looking at it from two opposing directions.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you get something that's very jarring.
Yeah.
And sits very uncomfortably within the film, like these flashback scenes.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, so basically by targeting virgins, Marliston would rob all the wealthy parents of their precious virginal children. Kenny...
Like, really?
Yeah.
You know...
Kenny drives by Marliston's house and notices Jodie's bike outside. He enters the house and frees Jodie as Brent fights with Marliston, who manages to murder him with an axe.
Yeah, he notices Marliston's wearing lipstick, and then he's like, oh, okay, something's up here. Rushes into the house to save the day. Marliston goes Jack Torrance, and when I say, I mean, it's some of the physicality is exactly like Jack Torrance from The Shining. He goes to town with an axe, kills Sheriff Markin before chasing Kenny and Jodie through the woods. Kenny and Jodie turn up at the Lucia Cherry Ball.
Uh-huh.
And there's a cop there, and you know Jodie's explaining what's happened, and her dad's been killed, and are you gonna help us? And the cop says, "This is my post. I can't just split."
Yes.
Before getting an axe to the head,
Yeah.
right in the middle of his head. I mean, I wish it would have been a bit gorier. I wish, you know, if it had been like a Hatchet film, I think his head would have actually split off. But yeah, funny pun. Marliston turns up at the Cherry Ball, and yells, "Class dismissed," because he's the teacher. The attendees in their underwear, all looking like they're from the pages of an Vogue magazine.
All looking like they're from the middle music video by Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, but all like Abercrombie and Fitch models. Was that what was popular in 2000s? No, not a normal looking person amongst them. They cause a stampede downstairs. Kenny gets stabbed a few times while saving Jodie.
Yeah.
Marliston tries to attack Jodie, but she uses some of those self-defense skills.
She does.
Pushes him out the window, and he falls onto a fence.
Yeah.
The killer comes back for one last scare, and the sheriff's deputy shoots him repeatedly.
Yeah.
Jodie, and then that's the end of Marliston.
It is.
We then cut to Jodie and her mother, telling the police there's no reason they can think of for Sheriff Markin's visit to that dilapidated home, or for Marliston's murder spree. It's a bit shitty, really, because there's two guys. Because as Marge was explaining, her name's Marge as well.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. As Marge was explaining, there's two guys that were involved that weren't the principal or the sheriff.
Well, yeah.
Who skipped town and they got away with it scot-free.
And the thing is, her husband's dead, so it's not like he could get into any more trouble.
Exactly. I mean, he did what he did, you know? So it's weird. It's a weird choice for the ending.
Yeah.
I mean, the principal's dead as well. You know, why couldn't they just say, this is why, they're not going to get in
Because
trouble
they
for
were
anything.
hoping for a sequel, that's why.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they definitely
They were
wanted
absolutely hoping for a sequel, and we know this because when they leave the station, as they're leaving town, Jodie sees someone resembling Laura Lee Sherman disappear behind a moving school bus.
Yeah, because there's no suggestion that the real Laura Lee Sherman is dead.
Exactly.
There's no suggestion at all. So they probably were looking for a sequel.
The film ends with a shot of the waterfalls outside town turning red, and we get reverse end credits with Fader by Drugstore playing. Yeah, the end credits go up rather than going down. That's
Very
Or the other way around.
disorientating.
Yeah.
I'm not used to that.
And that's Cherry Falls.
Yeah, no, the credits went down instead of up,
Yeah.
didn't they? Yeah. Yeah, that's Cherry Falls. Enjoyable. Flawed, in my opinion. But in terms of the slew of meta slashers after Scream, fun. It's up there with the best of them, definitely.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a good time to be had, but 22 years is a long time, and there's
is.
elements that haven't aged very well.
Yeah, but it is massively entertaining. It's camp, it's funny where it needs to be in certain places. Yeah, I mean,
Brittany Murphy's just a really
exactly.
charming lead.
And if Brittany Murphy isn't enough of a reason to watch it, I don't know. But I mean, absolutely watch it for Brittany Murphy.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely check out Cherry Falls.
I feel like it's the one out of all that we've watched, and I said this earlier, that tried its hardest to be Scream.
Yeah.
I really felt that, and it's successful mostly.
Yeah.
In doing that, I think maybe its downfall was trying too hard to be like Scream, and I wish it just upped the comedy just a little bit and less of the darker stuff.
Yeah. So, if you're a fan of Cherry Falls, which I know a lot of you are, I've been hearing, let us know on social media. We're Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram, and Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. I'm Dead at Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, and GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker 823 on Instagram and Letterboxd.
Don't forget to give us a rate, review, and a subscribe on iTunes, like a follow, nothing else. Rate us on Spotify. This week is another double episode week, and we'll be back on Friday discussing our highlights from this year's BFI Flair LGBTQ+ festival.
Yes.
Yes, we'll be back with that, and then next week, just when you thought you've heard too much of us discussing early 2000s meta horror, we have Dracula 2000.
Is that a sequel?
No.
No. I always thought that was a sequel. I think I always got it confused with John Carpenter's Vampires. Maybe that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a lot to
Dracula
say
2000
about this. Or Dracula 2001 if you're from the UK.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
2001 A Vampire Odyssey.
Yeah, something like that. So we'll see you on Friday.
Bye.